A human's courage freed an alien child and created an unbreakable bond. The desert of Zephyria was unlike anything Jaden had ever seen. The twin suns blazed overhead, casting long shadows over the jagged crystalline spires that jutted from the golden sand. He adjusted the straps of his cargo pack and squinted at the distant shimmer of movement. He had come to this remote planet on a research mission, tasked with cataloging its unique flora and fauna. But nothing in his training had prepared him for what he would encounter today. As he trekked closer to a narrow canyon, a faint cry pierced the hot, dry air. It wasn't the cry of an animal. It was higher, urgent, almost human. Jaden froze. He scanned the canyon walls and spotted a small, luminescent figure trapped in a net of strange, vine-like tendrils. Its eyes glowed a soft violet, and its limbs twitched desperately. "Hey!" Jaden called, waving his arms to get its attention. "I'm here to help." The creature recoiled, hissing in a language he didn't understand. But the fear in its eyes was unmistakable. Jaden carefully approached, studying the entangling vines. They pulsed with a faint energy that made his skin tingle. One wrong move and he could be caught too. He swallowed hard, took a deep breath, and grasped the nearest vine. It resisted him at first, then gave way under his determined grip. "You're going to be okay," he whispered, cutting the remaining strands with the multi-tool at his belt. The alien child, if that's what it was, fell into his arms with a soft, almost musical sigh. Its body was smaller than a human child, delicate yet strangely resilient, and covered in fine, iridescent scales. The alien's eyes studied him cautiously, then widened in recognition, or perhaps relief. Jaden smiled. "We need to get you out of here." They navigated the canyon together, Jaden supporting the child as it clung to him with surprising strength. The suns were beginning to set, casting the crystals in a fiery glow. It was beautiful but perilous. Sandstorms could sweep through the canyon without warning. Jaden's mind raced, considering every possible route to safety. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the canyon wall. Jaden froze. From the rocks emerged tall, sinewy creatures, their limbs long and angular, their eyes glinting with intelligence and menace. They were Zephyrrian hunters, and they did not look pleased to see a human interfering with their prey. The alien child whimpered and pressed closer to Jaden. He could feel the fear radiating from it. His heart pounded, but he refused to show it. "Stay behind me," he said, gripping the child tighter. The hunters advanced, their movements swift and precise. Jaden realized he had no choice. He had to make a run for it. He darted down a narrow crevice, the child clinging to him as if their lives depended on it. The hunters followed, but Jaden's knowledge of human agility gave him an edge. He leaped over jagged rocks, slid under low-hanging crystal formations, and ducked behind natural outcroppings, keeping the alien hidden. Finally, they emerged into a hidden alcove where the wind whispered through the crystals. Jaden crouched, gasping for air, and looked down at the child. Its scales shimmered in the fading sunlight, and for a brief moment, it reached out and touched his cheek with a tiny glowing hand. Jaden felt a warmth spread through him, a connection that transcended words, species, and even fear. "You're safe now," he said softly. The child made a sound that seemed like a sigh of relief, curling into his chest. For the first time, Jaden understood that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was acting in spite of it. Night fell, and the two of them settled among the crystals. Jaden fashioned a makeshift shelter, keeping the child close. They shared a silent meal of rations, and although they could not speak to each other in words, Their bond grew with every passing hour. The alien child nuzzled his arm, and Jaden felt a sense of responsibility deeper than anything he had known. By morning, the hunters had vanished, deterred by the harsh terrain and perhaps the unusual bond they had witnessed. Jaden carefully navigated the alien back to his ship, where he contacted his research team. The child clung to him the entire way, unafraid now, trusting him completely. When the team arrived, they marveled at the sight. The alien child reached out, touching each human with a faint glow of recognition, but always returning to Jaden's side. He knelt, allowing the child to climb onto his shoulder. "Looks like we've made a friend," he said, smiling. Weeks turned into months, and Jaden and the child, whom he named Liora, became inseparable. Liora learned to communicate through gestures and lights, and Jaden learned to listen without words. Together, they explored Zephyria, cataloging its wonders and teaching each other about courage, empathy, and trust. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Jaden held Liora's small hand. "I guess some bonds don't need words," he said. Liora's eyes glowed brighter in agreement, a quiet affirmation that whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together. Jaden realized then that bravery wasn't just about daring acts in the face of danger. It was about standing by those who cannot stand for themselves, even if it meant risking everything. And in saving Liora, he had discovered a friendship that no force in the galaxy could break. As night fell over Zephyria, the stars reflected in Liora's luminous scales, and Jaden smiled. Courage had forged a bond stronger than fear, deeper than words, and unbreakable by any distance between their worlds. Night fell over Zephyria, and Jaden and Liora rested among the shimmering crystals. The twin suns had disappeared below the horizon, leaving a blanket of stars that reflected in the child's luminous scales. Liora curled into his chest, no longer trembling or fearful, her small hands glowing faintly as if in quiet gratitude. "You're safe now," Jaden whispered, brushing a hand over her tiny glowing head. In that moment, he realized courage wasn't about risking his own life. It was about protecting someone who could not protect themselves. Every fear he had felt in the canyon, every leap over jagged rocks, had been worth it. Morning brought a cautious calm. The hunters were gone, deterred by the harsh terrain and perhaps the strange, unspoken bond between human and alien. Jaden carefully guided Liora back to his ship, where his team awaited. Though the other humans were astonished by her appearance, she did not leave his side, always returning to his shoulder or clasping his hand. Weeks passed, and their connection deepened. Liora learned gestures and lights to communicate, and Jaden learned to listen without words. Together, they explored Zephyria, cataloging its wonders and discovering a friendship stronger than fear, stronger than species. One evening, as the stars shimmered above, Jaden held Liora's hand. "Some bonds don't need words," he said softly. Liora's eyes glowed in agreement, a quiet affirmation that whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together. In saving her, Jaden understood the true power of courage. It wasn't just in facing danger, but in standing by someone else, even when the odds seemed impossible. And as they gazed at the twin moons rising over Zephyria's crystalline horizon, he knew this bond, born of bravery and trust, would never be broken.